I would like to present my colleague, Dr. Ylva Hillbur, who is a insect chemical, ecologist. Yes, which is a fascinating area. Most of us who work with practical agriculture know that biocontrol is one of the really promising new areas, and so we're very happy and glad for your research, but you still only get 8 minutes.
Thank you very much. And unfortunately, I will not focus on my own research today, but first of all, good afternoon, everyone. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure and honor to be here, and I'm very grateful to SIANI for inviting me and to giving me a chance to present what SLU does, so the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences does, to implement its strategy for science for global development. I will do that using 3 examples that link to the topics of today: climate-smart agriculture, rural development, and resilience. But first, I'd like to show a slide that I borrowed from Philip Thornton, who's one of the lead scientists of the CGIAR research program on climate change, agriculture, and food security, or CCAFS. This is just to further emphasize what we've heard already, the tremendous impact of the climate change that we see. And this, of course, is a scenario of a 4-degree world. We don't know if that's where we're heading, but it clearly shows the impact in the African context in terms of reduction in the length of growing period. And as you can see, and I don't know if the quality of the slide is good enough to see, but the darker areas, or the darkest, is where we have a more than 20% loss in growing period. And we actually see only a very small region potentially benefiting, and that's in the Eastern and Central African highlands. So this is a grim scenario, I think, that further emphasizes that we will have to find sustainable and climate-smart solutions for intensification that are both targeting adaptation and mitigation. We also need to remember that agriculture globally contributes to 25% of the greenhouse gas emissions and also to 25% of land degradation. Now, in addition, this is what it looks like today in terms of the value of food import in Africa, 35 billion a year. And we know with the fast-growing populations, if there is no change in terms of production, this will rise to 110 billion by 2025. So clearly, there is a need for environmentally, economically, and socially sustainable increase and intensification of agricultural production. Now, so this takes me to my first example. So how can we do this? What does sustainable intensification entail? And my example here is the project referred to as LLL, Land, Livestock, and Livelihoods in Drylands, that have allowed SLU scientists during a 30-year period to follow the transformation from pastoralism to livestock-based agri-pastoral systems in northwestern Kenya, in the West Pokot. A key element of this transformation has been the introduction of enclosures that prevents livestock to move freely. We can see from these 2 pictures, the one to the left from 1987 and the one to the right from now, that this has generated environmentally sustainable development. What we see here can be referred to as more climate-smart agriculture. We see less land degradation, better vegetation cover. There is a higher degree of soil carbon in the photograph to the right than we had in 1987. The system is economically diversified. The element of agribusiness is higher. There is an introduction of crop production, poultry, improved livestock, and this has also generated a socially inclusive development where women have more opportunities and are more involved in these other businesses, including vegetable production. So this could be viewed as an example of sustainable intensification and climate-smart intensification. But is the system resilient? Well, we all know that nothing is static and things are changing. The contexts are changing all the time. So how can the system develop a readiness for change and still maintain the resilience at that level. To work on these issues, the researchers have, together with NGOs, local leaders, and county officials, discussed and developed future scenarios, thinking around key factors as poverty, climate variability, and populations in the area, and then developed 4 future scenarios. And based on these scenarios, also identified urgent research and policy needs, thus providing a readiness to tackle future challenges. Now, another aspect, and I'm sure you agree with me, that engaging youth in agriculture is going to be very important. We know that in the near future, 60% of the African next generation youth will need employment, and we're talking about 200 million jobs. We also know that many of these rural youth will seek their future in urban areas rather than engaging in agriculture. So how to enhance the interests and prospects of a career in agriculture? One avenue for this is to engage in entrepreneurial training or agripreneurial training and exchange programs. And SLU has recently engaged in these activities. And as we speak, an event here, that from which the photograph is, that was sent to me yesterday, is ending in Kampala. It's the Youth Agripreneur Exchange, a workshop that has lasted for a week and has been co-organized between SLU and Makerere University, as well as IITA, or the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. IITA is one of the key partners for SLU in this initiative, and the IITA Youth Agripreneurs started in 2012 and largely thanks to IFAD funding, and is one of the pioneering initiatives within youth agripreneurship. So what SLU attempts to do here is to also establish North-South Youth Agripreneur Network. So we see that we have the Ugandan agripreneurs, but also representatives of our students in rural agriculture and rural management, a strongly entrepreneurial program. Another aspect and another example of SLU's activities towards global sustainable development is to support capacity development. We strongly believe that strong national research capacity is a key factor to identify and prioritize research topics, methods, and partners to develop evidence-based, locally adapted, and sustainable solutions, referring to climate-smart agriculture, rural development, etc. And these will be anchored in and contribute to national and regional policies and processes. So how can we measure whether we're successful or not? We want to go, and we think we can demonstrate that we've moved from support to balanced partnerships. The graph illustrates the number of co-publications between SLU scientists, and the blue bars is authors from DAC-listed countries. And we can see that the increase is beyond the average number that will be produced by joint PhD students, thus indicating that we have research collaboration on equal terms. Now, to conclude, I think we have heard today, and we will probably hear more, the importance of the Agenda 2030 as a framework for our efforts. And for us to be efficient, I think we need to keep track of progress. And as a university, for us to be able to show how we contribute and to improve our contribution to sustainable global development, we need to think of indicators beyond publications and number of students. We need to think of outcomes and activities that we can link at an aggregate level to Agenda 2030, and we've just started that work. Thank you very much.